What's up YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video we're going to be doing an Emax servo upgrade on the Axial SCX-24 Jeep Wrangler. So if you've been following along with the build, you know that I'm going through this whole entire Jeep, upgrading it. And so in today's video, we're going to do the Emax upgrade. So this is the Emax servo. It's part number ES08MA2. So the A stands for analog, so this is an analog servo. So it's pretty standard to install one of these on your Axial SCX-24. It's most available servo right now. And yeah, I did it on the C10 build, so we're going to do it on the Jeep. So the first thing we're going to do is remove the body and the wheels, and then we're going to get into it. Alright, now that the body and the wheels are off, the first step you want to do is uninstall or unscrew. There's a screw right here on your right side, and there's one on the left side of the servo. Alright, now that those two screws are undone, I'm going to disconnect this link from the Trio link. And there is our servo. So it's free now from the body. So now I'm going to pull the plug out, and there is our servo. So what was it, 3 screws and we're out. So now we need to remove this link and put it to the side because we're going to put that on our new servo. So you never want to throw away any of your old parts because you never know if you might need them in the future. So we're just going to put that to the side. And now, what I like to do is disconnect the servo mount because we're going to have to modify it a little bit for the Emax servo. So it's connected with 3 screws. So there's going to be 2 that are on the top of the diff cover, and there's going to be 1 on the back side that connects it to the Y-link back here. And then the screw's going to be back here behind the shock. Alrighty, so out of those 3 screws that I just undid, the 2 longer ones are the ones that go in the diff cover, and the shorter one is in the one that connects to the Y-link, just to keep that in mind. Alright, so now that that's all disconnected, you can pretty much flip the truck and it'll disconnect. So there we are, there's our servo mount. And so when you undo that, you kind of disconnect the drivetrain, so you just got to be conscious of that. When you put it all back together, you want to set it up right. Alright, so now that the truck's apart, let's get into the Emax servo. So this is a pretty cheap servo. I think it's around like 15 bucks, maybe less than that. I got it for the C10 and I really enjoyed it. Definitely an upgrade. Probably one of the most needed upgrades for the Axial SCX-24. So glad to make that purchase. There's that. So here is the servo. It's a metal gear servo compared to the stock Axial servo. And it comes with all these extra added horns. Out of all this, you're only going to need 1 horn, and we're going to have to modify it. So with everything that came with the servo, we're going to need this horn, and we're going to need that little screw. So it's nothing too crazy. So you're going to grab your pair of pliers, and we're going to snip 3 sides of the servo horn. We only want 1, so we want it to look like that. So snip. 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 So that's what we want. You could clean it up a little bit. I'm not too annoyed by that. Some people like to grab a black Sharpie and kind of blend it in with the rest of the truck, but I don't have an issue with it. So once you've snipped off the 3 sides of your servo horn, you're going to grab it. And so one side is a little bit taller than the other side, so you're going to want to get the taller side, and you're going to want to put it onto the servo. Should slide on pretty easily. You can do that. And then we're going to grab our little screw, our black screw. It's a Phillips. So now that the servo is all connected, it's time to focus on the servo mount. So in the previous video, I bought a servo mount, a 3D printed servo mount off of Etsy. I was kind of new to the hobby, so I didn't really know what I was supposed to be doing. So I just wanted to play it safe, but now I know what I'm doing. So we need to modify the servo mount, because when we put it into the servo tray, we put the servo into the servo mount, this wire kind of is in the way of this little section right here. So we're simply gonna grab that same pair of pliers, and we're gonna snip right in here. 1, 2. So pretty much we just snipped off this little corner of the servo tray, and we are gonna put the servo into the servo tray, and now our wire fits in. So it's a pretty good fit. There is a little bit of a gap here. That was not there on the servo that I bought off of Etsy, so I just want to let you guys know that. But it shouldn't be too big of an issue. So now we're gonna grab our little screws. These don't look like they're long enough. So after a second of messing around with these little screws, I didn't think they'd be long enough to connect the servo to the servo tray, but they are. So I just had to play with it a little bit, wiggle it around. So there's one in. And then we're gonna do the exact same thing on the other side. Alright, so there is our servo in the servo tray. So now we're simply just going to reinstall it into the body. When it's time to install the servo back into the truck, I always like to put it into the diff cover mount first, because that's the simplest one. You just kind of pop it in there, it stays in place. So then I got my screws. Now it's time to reconnect the drivetrain. So it's kind of tricky, but pretty easy. You gotta wiggle it around. Kind of moves a bit, which is pretty annoying, but it's doable. There we are. It's in. So now I gotta articulate a little bit. Move that Y-link up. Alright, now we're in place. Alright, so the point where the back of the mount connects to the Y-link back here is now connected. It's a little bit difficult to get into there. If I were to do this again, I'd probably disconnect the shocks to open it up a little bit more, make it a little bit easier. But now we're in, so we're remounted in all of our spots. Now it's time to put this link back onto the truck. So I made the same mistake as I did in the previous video. I'm trying to put this link on to the servo while it's in the truck, when I really should just take off the servo horn and mount the link to it, and then put the horn on the truck and make things a lot easier. So that's what I did. That's what I recommend, guys. So mount your link to your horn, and then put your horn on your truck. It'll save you a bunch of time. Yeah. So now that link is connected to the horn. Horn's back on our truck. We're gonna grab our little screw again. I'm gonna connect it. All right, so there's our horn. Our link's back in. Now we can connect the two true links to each other. Get this baby all tightened up. So now we're on the final home stretch. All the links are tied up. The servo's back in. Now we just got this long, super long wire that is provided with the Emax servo. I'm just gonna bunch it up real quick. Something like that. I'm gonna grab a zip tie. I'm gonna grab my pliers. Snip the excess. There we are. So now the moment of truth. Turn on the truck. There is our servo. So I have everything installed now. I turned on the truck and I had a bunch of bind in the servo and I could hear it. So I immediately turned off the car, turned off the controller. You simply disconnect the horn, set the trim to 0, and then you reconnect it and your bind will go away. And so now I don't hear that little noise, little scary little noise. So now I just put the horn back on and now we're all set. So there is the truck. And so when you turn the wheel, there it is. We can go all the way to the left, all the way to the right. It's not uneven to one side. So now I'm just gonna put on the wheels and tires, put the body back on, and we will see how this servo sounds. So there is the Emax analog servo on the SCX24. That thing sounds loud. It sounds powerful compared to the stock one. It sounds way stronger than the one I have on the C10. I wonder what's up with that. Woo! Woo! We're gonna have some awesome turning capabilities out on the trails. Woohoo, baby. Yeah, that is sick. This build is coming along. I've come such a long way from being a noob to actually know what I'm doing, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, hopefully you guys learned from that video. That is the Emax servo, pretty freaking dope. Thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing. Consider checking out that playlist. I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.